Hello, 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 everybody. This is I am Stacey Thomas with the Stacey Thomas Unrestricted Unlimited Talk Show. Why, for the new people watching, do I say unrestricted unlimited? First of all, don't put me in a box for anybody that comes on the show. We've got things that we've got to find out, things that are coming. We have yet to see what God has for us. So today, once again, I am, should I say blessed? I have with me Virginia delegate from the 63rd District, as you see on the banner, Delegate Aird. How are you?
I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to talk with you, Stacey. Thanks for inviting me on. I'm really looking forward to a great conversation.
Well, you know what? I'm the one that's thankful, okay? So to start off, I'm not going to do what a lot of other people do. I'm not like one of those people that want to drill you on this and drill you on that. I honestly, and I think there's a lot of other people that see you in the media, we want to know who you are. We don't want to know your address. We don't want to know your phone number. We want to know who you are. Okay. And I have a tendency, get like not personal, but I'm just going to ask because I'm curious. Okay.
Here we go.
So my first question is, what's your it and what's your passion?
You know, Stacey, I have to be honest and say at 33, I completely feel like my it is still being fully determined.
Okay.
It's constantly evolving, and it's absolutely, I think, one of those things that we're all in search of, and so I'm no exception. But I will say for my passion, it's very much rooted in my foundation. I grew up with, very humble beginnings under very adverse circumstances. And so my passion, even as young as when I was a child, and still is to this day, is just helping people, trying to ensure that no one experience some of the things that I feel like I experienced growing up, that whatever your circumstances are, if you are not happy with them, that you know that there's someone out there willing to help you through those circumstances and to help you get to another place. Everything about what I do, everything that I read, everything about the work that I'm doing, it all goes back to that ultimate purpose. It's the thing that makes me excited. It's the thing that makes me feel whole. And it's the reason that I can push forward every single day in doing this work.
Wow. So when you talked about your it, I'm saying to myself, so she's human like the rest of us. And then when you stepped into your passion, you're different. You're very different, and we celebrate you. And because not everybody will speak of humble beginnings, and not everybody will say that they've got that passion every day to do what they love. That's great.
It's a gift and a curse, and it's a double-edged sword, because when you are consumed by something so much, or your every inch of you pour into that. But there is a downside to that. And speaking from a mental standpoint, when you see perhaps negativity and or people in need and hurt and pain, too much of that can also impact you in how you view the world and how you approach different situations. And so you have to be really careful about this line of work. It reminds me of, social workers. You have to also manage self-care to make sure that you have enough of what's required for the duration of the race.
Wow. So I know what being consumed is. You have a family, correct?
That's very much correct. I have 2 small boys. Well, not anymore, 8 and 12, but they're still like small to me.
Okay. So see, when you brought up the fact that, you become consumed with things mentally, what do you do to maintain your sanity if you're consumed with helping others and you're consumed with being a great mother and a great wife, I assume?
So there's 2 answers. If I'm honest, which I feel like this is the space to be honest, I don't balance very well, right? At the end of the day, something falls short somewhere. And I learned that I'm normal because in Stacey Abrams' book I read, she calls it work-life Jenga. What you can keep from falling for the day, right? And so my life is very much that approach. But the difference is I'm in tune enough with myself that I know when I have reached my boundary, right? I know when I need to take a step back, or I know when physically I'm feeling like this is too much, I'm overwhelmed. And because I'm very aware of that sense, I can go, 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 go like the Energizer Bunny. But when I reach that place, no matter what's going on, I pause and I take a step back. I do things like normal Netflixing. If I can just take some time and unload from the day-to-day work and maybe watch something on Netflix. I also love to run. And I like my audibles because I can't physically sit still long enough to actually get through as many books as I'd like to. But in terms of at least attempting to balance, the second half to that answer is being deliberate about your time. I make sure that in my scheduling, there are specific times that are untouchable for my children. I try as best as I can to lay out days for my husband for us to, be deliberate about our time together. But if you let it, everything that you care about will consume you and your time. And so you have to be deliberate about putting those things first, because that has to be the priority in your life for sure.
You're definitely going to stay young a long time. Just your way of thinking, So for those that are watching, I want to give you a glimpse of what I saw when her name was first mentioned to me, because I live in your district, but because of being consumed with other things, I must admit, I don't always keep up with everything. So I want to show the viewers what caught my attention. This young African-American woman that's in front of all these important people. She's not nervous. She knows what's on her mind. You never stutter. I'm going to let the viewers see for themselves, okay?
Madam Speaker, today I rise to highlight our shared history, Black history, with a focus on the Supreme Court's 1954 decision, Brown v. Board of Education. 2020 makes 66 years since that decision, and I think if I were to ask most of the people in this room, you would feel very confident about your general understanding around this landmark case. But Madam Speaker, it was once stated that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.
Wow. Interesting. Were you sweating before you start to speak?
No, not as much anymore. I will say during session, I have a little bit of nerves just because I know what's at stake, and I know how important, what I'm about to say is, but I think I have a pretty good temperament around it now.
Okay. So, as an African American and a woman,
yeah,
does it make it harder to do what it is you're doing?
I believe so. And the hardest part about this work is the constant need to educate, the constant need to almost take on every battle when you feel like it's not being handled properly, because we are get it done types of people, types of women, right? And it's exhausting.
Right.
The work of trying to convince people about how important some of these issues are, it's exhausting. And because others don't have the lived experience, they don't have the perspective, to see things through the lenses in which we see them, and no amount of education can give you that. It is emotionally daunting, but meanwhile, despite that exhaustion, you have to continue that work because it's so critical. And you have to do it very well. You can't come with half information. You can't be unprepared. And that requires a lot of any individual. And I think that at some points, you almost want to give up because you don't see the progress happen fast enough. But we can't give up because we're nowhere near close to where we need to be as a people, as a society. And so the work must go on.
Okay. So doing this COVID-19 thing, I don't want to know if you have any solutions. I don't want to know if you have any cures. I mean, if you got, I'm going to give you a chance. So if you have it, you can give it to us. But how are you and your families doing? How are you and your family doing?
I will admit that I have worked harder during COVID-19 and teleworking and Zoom meetings than I have to when it's time for me to run out to an event or go into the office. This, I don't know if it's, screen fatigue from all the virtual meetings or what, but literally some days I can't get up from my desk from the time I get up until, it's time to prepare a meal. But it is really exhausting. My children, they're both school age, right? And so trying to make sure that they're getting their work done, that they are not fixed to another screen while also continuing to work. And then just keeping your house in order, right? Because everything's home. It is absolutely a challenge, and I'm exhausted. That's how COVID-19 is going for sure.
I kind of thought you would say, well, I'm not as busy as I normally am, but okay.
Actually, quite frankly, for everyone who's out there that's posted messages about, oh, I've had the chance to declutter my closet, or I'm so, bored. I'm so jealous of them because I want to declutter my closets too, but I am very much still working.
Okay. It was so good, and I didn't even, I have an idea. But before we go, what made you decide to go into politics?
I have to say that it was not one of those things where I knew when I grew up I wanted to be in government or that one day I would be in this position. When it was time to make the decision to run for office, I thought about the fact that I had experienced so many hardships just growing up. And when I looked at the community I would be representing and I saw the needs that existed, I felt like it was my obligation to use what I had learned in overcoming those hardships to help others and to provide a unique perspective to the governing process that, believe you me, for those people that are already there, they just don't have. When you talk about living in a hotel, not having water, not having access to food, there's nothing wrong with having never experienced that. But that means you don't understand the people, their needs, and the type of policy that's required to address those types of barriers. And I have a responsibility to give a voice to those things. In addition to everything else, because, we're well versed on multiple topics. But when it comes to that specifically, that is a very niche and unique lived experience for those who have lived through it and then have risen to positions of power and leadership. And so that really was what I used to make my decision back when I made the decision to run.
Wow. Interesting. Are you like, you know, when people work for Verizon, the first thing people want to ask is, can you talk to me about my phone bill? You walk up to somebody and you say, I work for DMV. First thing they want to do is complain about what happened and can you help me get this or can you help me get that? So you're very known, right? Well known. Can you go to any functions? You're off work, or I don't know if you're ever off work, without someone coming to you with a problem about the government?
No. That's the short answer. But the honest to goodness truth is I'm okay with that. Because I feel like they feel comfortable enough to talk with me about those things. And that means that I'm doing my job. If they didn't, then I think that would be a problem. And so I'm okay with that. I am.
Okay. Okay. So this has been nice. What I'd have lost my thought that just for a minute. Oh, I know. I wanted to tell you. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play the video again before you leave us with what you want us to know.
Okay.
But when your great grandchildren are in school, and my great grandchildren are in school, and the history book is pulled out, what do you want the history book to say about Delegate Aird?
Oh, that's tough. Stacey, you're just digging so deep right now.
I'm sorry. No, you can decline. You can decline.
So I will say this is an incomplete answer, and it'll be great to see my evolution later on in life when I look back at this. But here's the one thing I can say while I'm in office. The one thing that I'm also fixated on before I leave is making sure that I make a path for other young Black women, other young girls to come after me. If I can look back and say, look how I helped those individuals continue to make sure there is this type of voice present, I will feel like I've done some of my parts. But the rest of it probably goes towards education. I feel like the success that we can have as a people, as a society, as a community, it all goes back to our schools. It all goes back to how we are preparing young people right now. And I see a great deal of need throughout my district in that area. And if I can impact change there, then I feel as though, I've done my part, and I would be very pleased with that.
You're good. I'm digging deep, but you're good. So, let's do the video again for those that are just coming on, okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Madam Speaker, today I rise to continue to highlight our shared history, Black history, with a focus on the Supreme Court's 1954 decision, Brown v. Board of Education. 2020 makes 66 years since that decision, and I think if I were to ask most of the people in this room, you would feel very confident about your general understanding around this landmark case. But Madam Speaker, it was once stated that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So what do you want to leave? What is it not leave us with? What do you want people to know before we end the show?
I want people to know a few things. And I'll probably speak specifically to COVID-19. I want people to know that despite the fact that we are in an unprecedented period of time, I don't want them to feel alone. Because I know I'm certainly out here fighting on behalf of those who need it. I know that when you're in a place of hardship, you can feel like you don't know how you're going to come out of it. Well, first and foremost, as a woman of faith, you have to hold on tight to your faith. But then furthermore, just know that there is a way out. And if you do need help or you need someone to turn to, I am here. and so is many, many others. And then I'll also say that if you have the luxury of having free time right now, or not being in a place of hardship, use this time to try and think about how we can rise out of COVID-19 in a renewed frame of thinking, and a refreshed spirit, and certainly just all around better place. I think sometimes crises, if you take a perspective of it providing you with an opportunity to think about how we can do things differently as individuals, as a community, there is a lot of good that can come from it, despite the hurt and some of the pain that people are feeling. And so I think for right now, I would just say that I'm here for you. Let me know if there's ever any way that I could be a resource and be of help, and that you're not going through this alone.
Wow. It's been nice. And I'm going to leave you with these statements.
Thank you.
I am not God. I am nobody that can judge anybody, but I strongly believe that we have people in positions. Some were called and some look at the fame and fortune or the status. I believe you were called.
Thank you.
And I'm wishing you the very, very best. And if you should ever want to come back and talk about something, you know, when you're running for president, or if you're running for Supreme Court judge, you know, remember us here.
I'm not quite old enough yet.
I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day and take care of yourself, beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, Stacey. And
You're welcome.
the invitation is for you as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Wow, another great interview. I am Stacey Thomas, Unrestricted Unlimited. They say that because I say that because you can't put me in a box. I have yet to see all that God has for me. Feel free to check me out on YouTube, Stacey Thomas, Unrestricted Unlimited. If you're interested in finding out more about my books, you can always go to Amazon.com and look up Stacey Thomas. As always, don't stress about yesterday or worry too much about tomorrow. If you do, you just might miss living today. Have a great one.